Welcome back to Healed on Purpose with Destiny. I may sound a little rough today because I have allergies, but we are going to push through it today. And as always, I'm so happy to have you here. If you are new here, welcome. If you are tuning back in, we are so blessed to have you a part of this community. Today, we are going to be talking about a statement and a mindset and an action and all kinds of things that are wrapped around the cycle of busyness, right? Every day we're busy doing something. And so maybe you're in a season in your life right now where you're like, I'm doing the work, but I feel like I'm getting nowhere. The thing is that a lot of times how we feel is true, and sometimes it's not. And so we have to dissect those feelings. And some people will say, well, Destiny, we shouldn't be wrapped up in our feelings as believers. I'm not telling you to be wrapped up in your feelings. I'm telling you to dissect how you feel so that you can see if it's true or not. The Bible talks about how the truth sets us free. So if you're not applying the truth to your feelings, if you don't know the truth or the lie that's happening amongst your feelings, then it's hard to produce a different outcome than what you have in the past. It's hard to produce the outcome that you're hoping for, that you're praying for, and that you're working towards. And so sometimes we do have to do a little processing and making sure that we know the truth about how we are feeling. Sometimes we will, and really often, we will try to go after to see if someone, something, or somewhere is true or false before we'll ever do it towards ourselves. We see this with history. We see this with the news. We see this with viral videos. We see this with relationships. We see this all the time with he say, she say. Like, we'll get consumed in things and trying to find out if they're true or not before we'll find out if something within ourselves is true or not. And so it's really important to care for yourself during this healing journey and do that dissecting so that you can get the truth, so that you can keep the truth, so that the truth can set you free and you can create a different outcome than just busyness. So this is a statement that we're leading off of today, that we are building off of today, and that is, again, I'm doing the work, but I feel like I'm getting nowhere. And so today we're going to talk about that. So, everyone is busy, but few are actually being productive. Maybe we're being busy with our busy thinking. Maybe we're busy working. Maybe we're busy praying. Maybe we're busy fasting. Maybe we're busy taking care of our health, or busy, just doing different things. Literally, like, I want you to fill in the blank. What have you been busy doing this week? Have you been trying to achieve a goal? Is there somewhere that you're trying to get, something you're trying to do? What have you been busy? So you can fill in the statement as, I am busy, da 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 da, or I have been busy, da 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 da. And that will help you. Okay, so everyone is busy, but few are being productive. And so we want to break that cycle of busyness. I don't know if you know this, but being busy doesn't necessarily mean that you're being productive. Not all busyness, right, creates a purposeful productiveness. In fact, a lot of busyness just has you doing the work, but you're doing the work in a way that doesn't produce productiveness. It doesn't produce results because it's not something that's operating according to your purpose. But half of the time, it's actually operating due to generational trauma and generational limitations. And so, of course, anything that's generational is going to affect your health and it's going to affect your wealth. And so that's why we need to talk about it. So, let's dissect busy. I had a whiteboard and I wanted so badly to get the whiteboard out, but I didn't have a marker. So that's on my to-do list. Let's go get a marker so that when I have a formula that I can share it with you guys, because I want you to be able to see it, because I'm very visual. And so I have wrote down this formula that God has given me today to share with you, and I will make sure that somewhere across here I will place the formula so that you can visually see it. So this is what the busyness really creates. And so I want you to think of it as a division line. And so on top of that division line, we're going to dissect what busy is. So busy is you have a great deal to do, right? You have a great amount of something that you need to do. And then under that divided line is you've got work to do. And that pretty much simplifies it. Now going on, because it doesn't stop here. When you have a great deal to do, you have work to do, there's going to be something else that's added to that. And that's going to be another division line where it's mindset over action. Because in order to even get busy, right, you've got to have a great deal of work to do, and you're going to have, and you've got to have some mindset to do that work. You've got to have the right action to do that work. And this actually creates a result and a outcome. And this is what happens. So, we're kind of dissecting busyness here, of having that great deal of work to do, plus you've got your mindset and your action, and you've got the result or the outcome. Now I want you to note here that trauma wounds create wealth wounds. And why does that matter? Right? Why, Dustin, why are you saying that? Well, I'm saying that because this affects your future. It affects what you're trying to build. It affects the vision. It affects the results. It affects everything. And so if we don't have awareness that trauma is not just what the world says it is way more. Meaning that it's affecting people being able to fulfill their destiny. It's affecting people being able to experience heaven on earth. It's affecting people's prayers and keeping them from aligning themselves with their prayers. It's affecting everything, including poverty. It's keeping people in poverty. And with mindset and patterns and beliefs and actions. And so going forward, what this overall is doing is that this is going to leave something for generations and generations to come if you don't do anything about it. If you are not on the healing journey of healing this way, this is what happens, is that it's going to leave a generational outcome and a result to your children and your children's children, and they will be the next one to battle it until they overcome. So this is something that is affecting your wealth as well, not just your health, but your wealth. And often where you will see this in people's lives where they're sick. There's people that are sick. There's believers that are sick. There's believers that are poor. There are believers that are suffering. There's believers that are, going through this and they're going through that. And it's like, well, you know what? It's time to do something about it because we can. We don't have to sit and just suffer. We have the ability to fight back. And with what you know and what you speak and what you do and how you think has a whole lot to do with it, because sometimes we think that our thoughts are our own thoughts, but let me tell you, sometimes those thoughts are thoughts that are repeated from generational line to generational line, and it's not producing a new outcome because it's not something that's new, but it's something that's old. And so I'm going to make another video. If you guys would like me to, comment below. I want a video on how trauma wounds create wealth wounds, and we'll go deeper into that. But that's a note to take, is that the reason why we talk about these things is because trauma is not just what trauma is according to the world. There's a reason why trauma is affecting your life so much, and why it's having a great it's adding a lot of pressure and impact and taking a lot from you in multiple areas and not just one. It's because that's how it's designed. It's designed to destroy, kill, and steal, because it's something that the enemy operates in and creates a lot of spiritual warfare for people, whether they realize it or not. And so we're going to talk about another outcome that happens, that is created. And so healing plus wealth actually produces productivity. And so that's like where we have that great work to do, and we've got a healing mindset and we got healing actions, we produce the outcome of productivity. Now, when we are creating, this is another outcome that can happen. So when we are creating when we are creating busyness, this busyness cycle, what's happening here is we were actually creating a repeated trauma and a repeated wealth wound that is creating a busy cycle. So we'll think that this is why we get this saying and why it's been said before, I am doing the work, but I'm getting nowhere. This is the formula that's creating that nowhere. The nowhere is because you're stuck in a loop. You're stuck in a loop that's creating the outcome that you didn't want, but you didn't know how to apply a different formula to create a different outcome. That's the thing, is that it's really important how we do things, but we're going to get to that shortly of why this is really continues to repeat. So the busy cycle focuses more on what you're doing. And so we can see this with how busy things busy things get. It gets busy because you're focused on what am I going to do? What am I going to do today? What am I going to do today? That's where we go with that checklist, and it makes us feel good, and we feel like we're getting a lot done. But we soon realize that it was never really productivity in any ways, depending on if the what was only the focus, right? If when you're going to work, if you're just focusing on what you're doing, it's not going to be enough to break the busy cycle and create that healing plus wealth, which equals the outcome that results in productivity. Now, the productive cycle focuses more on how. How are you going to do it? How are you going to produce this outcome? Now, don't get me wrong. The what is important, but you need to focus more on your how than on your what. Because, and let me make this very clear. A lot of times when I'm speaking to believers about something that's happening in their life, right, we're talking about the outcome, the challenge, and we're getting to the root of things, and we are dissecting everything so that we can apply a different formula, right? And so people have to understand what they're going through in order to apply something else, because I can show you how to do it, but I can't do the work for you. And so it's kind of like this right here, of where, when we're focusing on that what, we're not being able to generate anything differently because we don't know how to even generate anything. And so you really want to focus on that how. How am I going to generate something different? How am I going to do it? The what is important, but spend less time, because again, a lot of times when I'm talking to believers, they don't even know what they're doing. Okay? A lot of times they don't even know what they're doing. How many times have you focused on the what, but you didn't really know what you were doing, or you didn't know where you were going, or you didn't know? And so if you're confused, or if you are searching for clarity, if you don't know which route to take, guess what? You don't have to focus on your what. You don't have to. And if you feel like you need to, you don't have to focus on it very long. If you don't know which direction you're going, your first focal point doesn't even have to be what. It can be how, and it should be how. How am I going to get here? How am I going to know what my what is? How am I going to know, and so you focus on that. You focus on these things, because when we ask ourselves a question, what happens is we're actually able to find an answer. Okay? So the what isn't really, it's in this case, it's not really a question that is dissecting a route, but more of just a surface type of thing that looks good and looks pretty, but when you really get to the bottom of it, when you really go through it, you find out this wasn't pretty at all, and this wasn't good for me. Okay? And so we want to be able to find out those things. And so when we ask ourselves those questions, we're able to get the answers, and it changes everything. It changes absolutely everything. So remember that when you ask yourself a question, you'll be able to find an answer. Okay? And so I've got some scriptures here that we are going to read that go with everything that we are talking about today. So Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you." So Matthew 6:33 is talking about the how. And to go back a little bit, the Bible teaches us how to be productive. It actually teaches how to be productive. It's not focusing on so much on being busy, but being productive. And so, again, this scripture here is talking about how. Matthew 11:28-30 says, "Come to me, all who labor, who work, and are heavy loaded." Isn't that what we just described in busyness? A great deal of work to do, right? That it just reminds me of when we think of it like that, how heavy it really is. And this is the reason why we get to this point where God is saying, "Come to me, who labor." Come to me with what you're doing. Come to me with what you're doing. That's basically what it's saying, with what you're doing, because if you don't, what's going to result in is you are going to have no rest, because rest can't come through what you're doing, the way that you're doing it. And so Psalms 46:10 tells us how. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." And so these scriptures are reminding us of what being productive is and how to get out of this busy cycle that's creating an outcome of repeated trauma wounds and repeated wealth wounds, and is affecting generations. Your generations, right? The generations that you've created, the generations you will create, and the generations that your children's children, right, that are all creating. And it really just starts with you. And so if you have liked this video, make sure that you subscribe and make sure you like, share with someone that you love, be supportive to those who maybe feel like, they're going through a busy season, but they feel like they're getting nowhere. We have all been there, and there's no time to condemn, but there's time to love. And so let's spend time loving people and actually, sharing resources that are going to help them, right? So that they don't feel like they're getting nowhere anymore, but they feel like that they're actually being able to receive the fruit of their labor. The thing is that the busy cycle isn't a good labor, and it's not a good work. And that's the reason why we don't reap a good fruit and a good harvest, because the way that it's designed is it's not designed to give you a different outcome. It's only designed to give you one outcome, and that's something that you're not destined for. But when we focus on what creates healing and wealth, right? How that productiveness, when we focus on the productiveness, we create healing and we create wealth and we impact generations and we leave legacies and we grow a deeper relationship and healthy relationships with God, self, money, people, places, and things. And we're able to do what we're here to do. And not just that, we have the resources to do what we have been created to do. So if you want to create resources, and if you are wanting to be productive, what you are saying is, "Destiny, I want to sharpen my life." Right? I want to sharpen my life. There's things that need to be sharpened up. I've been doing a lot of work. I seen this Mimi or whatever, I don't know, somewhere on Facebook. And it was comparing a sharp pencil with a dull pencil and saying, hey, the pencil's sharp because it's not done any work. But let me make it clear that even the dull pencil needs to be sharpened. Okay? And what we may be looking at in that picture is a pencil that's been sharpened after being busy for a long time. This thing is that there's more to what we see, But I love seeing that visual because it reminded me, like, hey, if you're doing a lot of work and you ain't sharpened, there's a problem. Because just because you do a lot of work doesn't mean you have to be dull. You can have a great harvest of fruit. You can have a great amount of labor but it's not too much for you, right? And there's a system that's taking care of the labor without you having to show up from 9 to 5, right? So it really depends on what your vision is for your life, what you're seeing, what you're wanting to work towards. And instead of focusing, just focus a little bit on the what, but remember that the how is what matters. And go and you know what? In order to focus on the what, go to God. God, what am I doing? What am I doing? Reveal it to me. Go get a coach, go get a mentor, go talk to someone you trust that can help you dissect what it is that you actually need to look at. So if you're wanting to sharpen your life, if you feel like this message has really ministered to you and spoke to you when you related and you connected with the language of what we've been talking about, the expressions, the feelings, you know if this is if it's something that was for you and personally spoke to you, I want to encourage you to go and check out the Sharpen My Life, where we're going to talk about things and healing sessions that your doctors are not telling you, that your therapist has never told you. And we're going to help you get a result that most people don't want for you, and that's of good health and good wealth. Okay? And so it's a 3-month coaching program with me one-on-one for us to dissect things like this. Not only something like this, but as well as other things. Basically, things that are important, that are keeping a stronghold on you from being able to create a different result other than the generational trauma wounds and the generational wealth wounds. So whether you're in business, you're in ministry, or if this is life or relationships, this is something that you're going to want to do, sign up for, or to check out, or to put a part of your on your calendar to go back and look at, so that you can create a different cycle, a different outcome, a legacy, something that you're destined for, something that you wake up in the morning and you're excited about. If you're ready to create that type of routine or lifestyle, really, then you're going to want to go to the Sharpen My Life program details that will be linked in the bio. Until next time, guys, I am cheering for you. Remain putting your hope in God, and have a blessed day.